Hello folks and welcome to the Vertigo Tea Party, and let's try Endless Legend. It's developed by Amplitude, who did provide me with a press copy of the game. They also made Endless Space, which is another 4X game. It's available for $34.99 on Steam for Windows or Mac. It does support multiplayer, achievements, trading cards, and Steam Cloud saves. We have a lot to go over, so let's go ahead and get started. Now this game is a 4X game, very much like Civilization, Civilization Beyond Earth, what Masters of Orion 2, things of that nature if you've played those games before. And if you haven't, I'll explain it as we kind of go along. First, I'm not going to start a new game, but I kind of want to show you a lot of the options you have when you do start a new game, which is nice, especially in these games, to vary it up, different land masses and what have you. So here we go. Let's just go through here very quickly. You can start with how many empires there are total, anywhere from 2 to 8. There's a lot of different difficulty levels that you can pick. Different speeds as well. Speed is more along the lines of how long the game lasts. So for example, by default it's 300 turns maximum. Everything is turn based. So if you normal is 300 turns. If you want a slower paced game, it's 450. You can go less or you can go endless so that you're not limited by turns, which is usually my preference. You can also allow custom factions. We can say advanced settings. There's more turns, turn options here. You can do things like time turns. This is probably more useful in multiplayer, I'd imagine. There's a lot of other victory conditions that you can turn on and off, things like that. Now, it's also here's your world map generation options. Again, anywhere from a tiny map to a huge one to a random. You can have all kinds of different shapes for your worlds, continent shapes, general temperature, world difficulty, and again, you can go in the advanced and you have a whole lot of different options to make a landmass just like you want, which again is really cool. There's also several different empires here. Looks like there's 8 different empires currently, with pretty drastic differences between them, different traits, things of that nature. And I like this. This is one thing I never liked about Civ, was it's all just, you know, basic kind of boring humans. This, we definitely get a nice variety of different types of creatures. You can also create your own custom race with its own features, or with its own feats, bonuses, negatives, things of that nature. The game also does support mods, and I haven't messed with any of the mods yet, but with the mods you can do things like adding traits, you can create your own technologies, city improvements, things of that nature. So there's a lot of customization, both with what they give you and what you can do with mods. Now, as I mentioned, I'm not going to actually start a new game. I want to pick up a game that I'm already in. I've actually played quite a bit. I'm probably 8 or 9 hours in, because I really felt like I really needed to play a good bit of this game to get a more solid understanding of how it works. Fair warning, there's a lot of things here. My memory is not very good. I'm going to miss some things. We're not going to cover everything about the game, but I want to give you enough so that you can make a decision on should I buy this or should I not. By the way, I absolutely love that visual effect. So here's the general world map. Right now I have 4 different towns. Vertigon, T-Town, Frita, and Samresian. These 2 I named, the other ones I did not. Also, if you're noticing any kind of frame rate issues, this is just due to the new way I'm recording. The game itself, I've not had any kind of frame rate issues. Even with everything maxed, it's ran pretty darn well. So, where to begin? If you're not familiar with the 4X strategy games, in a nutshell, what they mean, they're turn-based, they're city management, and the 4X, I'm going to mess this up, but the 4X stands for exploration, exploit, expand, and exterminate, I believe. The idea is you have your town, you build it up with building improvements to the town by researching new technologies, new weapons, new civil codes, new land improvements, new ways to process resources, things like that. You also expand by building new towns and by building an army, both to defend yourself and, if necessary, to wipe out your enemies with a military force. And like I said, there's a lot to cover here. So let's go ahead and click on my first main town here. Now, one interesting thing about this game that I don't know if I'm a big fan of is that it seems, at least if my understanding of how this game is set up is correct, is the map is split up into regions. So you'll notice here, you'll notice that there's this blue border kind of going around here. There's even and it might be hard to see on YouTube, but there's actually a double blue border here. But here there's like a blue and I guess that's a teal border. This area is an entire region. Once you have a city in this region, anywhere in this region, again, my understanding is you control that entire region. The enemy cannot build within that region unless they go to war with you, I don't believe. It also means all the resources on these tiles, things like here's we have an adamantium deposit, we have geothermal pits, we have some moon leaf here. All of these resources, these special resources, you can harvest them from anywhere. So you just build a city here and it is possible to harvest those resources once you've built the appropriate extractor on that resource. Now when you click on your city here, you get this hex grid of how far your city reaches, as well as it tells you what kind of resources you get from that land. So our city is, I think it's right here. There we go, it's right here. This is our main city tile. I believe this is where we started. And you can actually build out, and we'll talk about how you build your borders out. But at the start, you have your city tile, and you have all the tiles around it. And the resources you gather can gather from each tile is shown here. So for example, if we zoom in here a bit, this is a good example. Right here, we can get 1 food, 5 science, which is used to research new technologies, 1 culture, which is used to either set policies for your empire or to do trade or diplomatic relations with other empires. You have dust, which is pretty much gold, and this is actual manufacturing capability. Think of it as energy, I guess, if you will. Actually, that's probably not a great analogy, but stick with it for the time being, just for simplicity's sake. You automatically gather everything that you have access to. This isn't like Civilization, and I'm going to reference Civilization a few times here because I feel that a lot of people who are watching this probably are going to be more familiar with Civilization. So I am going to try to explain this in ways that even if you haven't played that game, you'll understand it. But I will make several references to it because, again, I think a lot of people who've played 4X and like the genre will be familiar with it. In Civilization, you had to have a citizen work a plot in order to get the resources. So, for example, to get all of this, I would need 1 citizen who was dedicated to working this plot, or 1 unit of citizens, if you want to call it that. In this game, it doesn't work like that. Everything that's in this other blue border automatically is obtained by me. But there is still citizen management, which again, we will go over here in just a bit. And I apologize if I stumble over myself. I'm trying to cover a lot of information. So again, I do apologize. Now you'll notice here, there's these, and again, it might be kind of hard to see on YouTube, but there's these little bitty shacks and little houses out here. How do you expand your city in this game? How do you expand the borders of workable area? Because as your city grows and grows, you want to be able to harvest more of the resources so that you can make more money, progress in your sciences faster, make more complicated units and whatnot faster as well. So to build out, first you have to increase the population of your city. And you do that by getting more and more food. Once you've gotten enough food, you can build what's called a borough. Borough streets are basically how you expand your city out. So for example, I had the option to build borough streets when I had, let me see, actually I might be able to build it somewhere else. I'm going to give you a good idea of how that works. Let's see if anybody's up for it. I'll try to kind of set this up ahead of time so that I could show some. Okay, so this guy can build borough streets. So this is how this works. This isn't my newest city. As you can see, this is the center. I don't have anything yet. I don't have any special borough streets. I just have the main area. So I've only got the 6 tiles. So my population has gotten high enough, and I think it's every 3 or 4 units, I could be wrong, you can build a borough street. Now, the benefit of Borough Street is it expands your borders. Now, it does hurt you in one way. It hurts your overall approval, and it also takes 1 food away from the tiles you build it on. But for the most part, you definitely want to build them. So let's select a Borough Street. That's what we want to manufacture. Now we have to decide where we actually put the Borough Street. Now, you'll see here when I'm selecting it, there's kind of a yellow cracked lines right outside of it. That shows you what you'll have access to if you build the Borough Street here. So if I build my Borough Street, let me get a better angle here. If I build my Borough Street up here, I get access to a lot of food because these these tiles are black earth tiles, and they're very good for farming. And since our city is very young, we want to grow it pretty fast. So I'm actually going to put the borough here, but it doesn't build instantly. It has to be created by the city first. However, what we can do is I can buy out an upgrade or a unit or whatnot by spending dust or gold. Again, dust is gold. It's the exact same thing. So in this case, I want to go ahead and build that quickly. It says here that I can buy it out for 157 dust, so I'm going to do that. So that's going to pop it to the top of the queue. This is your build queue. You can tell your city to build several things in a row. So you can say, I want you to build one military unit, and then a settler, and then a granary. And then it'll just do those in order. So by the next turn, we'll have automatically built that borough. And that's how you expand your cities out. So, and you can see here I have quite a few boroughs as I've spread the city out more and more. Now, and here's one thing I don't really... I didn't like it at first because I didn't understand how it worked, but now I understand how it works a little bit better. It's not a big of a deal, but it's still kind of weird. You can't expand your city into a different region. So again, and it might be hard to tell on YouTube, but this area here and this area here are both different regions. So this city that I have here, T-Town, cannot expand into this area no matter what. So even if I put a borough right here, I cannot claim the lands here. I cannot claim anywhere except for the region that I'm in. It's very odd. It feels a little unnatural. It feels a little, well, it feels very artificial. I can understand why they did it. And again, now that I understand how it works a little bit better, it doesn't bother me as much. But it still might be weird for some of those who are used to just plopping your town down and putting things wherever it is you want. Now, the very nice benefit of that is that you can claim anything in that region just by putting a city down. So again, let's click on this town, and there's a lot of resources here that I haven't built upgrades to get yet. So let's see, what do we want? We want Quicksilver. Quicksilver sounds great. So you can either click on the icon here to tell it to build it, and if you do that, it automatically adds it to your building queue. But for now, we're going to cancel it, or I can click and I can look through my build options. This is all the options of things that I have to build in this town. And let's see, we are going to go to, what did I say? We're going to build Quicksilver Extractor. And it's going to ask you where you want to put it. In most cases, you'll only have one area. You can kind of see this is glowing here. So when I hover over it, I can click it. And now you can see we have a Quicksilver Extractor in a queue. It's going to take 4 turns to build it. And it's going to cost, I'll also pay 359 dust to build it immediately. So let's say I don't want to pay dust, but I want to build this a little bit faster. How can I do that? Well, that takes us to the city management screen. When you click on a city tile, you have the city management information here. You have, again, food, which, one, you have to feed your citizens, but any excess food goes to growing your city. And you have a meter here that shows you how long it's going to take, given how much extra food you're making to grow the city up a population. And again, you want to grow the city population so you can build boroughs, so you can extract your borders, so that you can get more resources. So that's food. Then we have production. Production is just, you got to kind of think of production as kind of an abstract idea of the work and effort and materials required to build something. So if you want to build a house or a mine or a unit, it all draws from production. So a house might take 100 production and a unit might take 250 production. So again, those of you familiar with Civilization and other 4X games, you'll know what I mean. But I just want to, again, we'll make sure folks who have not played those games, make sure they are familiar with that. And again, production is how we build items. So that's the one we're going to come back to in a minute. But you also have science. Science is used to research new technologies. Again, dust is the money, and then this is how much influence the city is creating. You'll notice here we have several little kind of people icons. Now, one interesting thing I like about this game, because one thing I'm not very good at 4X games. I love them, but I'm not very good at them. partially because I don't like city micromanagement. I don't like managing every single plot of land, making specialists, you know, make a science specialist and engineering specialist. I don't like doing all that. I never bother with it. I let them auto manage and then I leave it alone. This system is a very simplified version of that, and for me, I personally like this a lot because it's very easy to see at a glance what you have set up and to change it. So let's say there's a very important science that's coming up. Right now I'm researching smelting station and it has 3 more turns until it's finished. But I say, oh, I really need that smelting station. But I don't want to lose a lot of production. I can move these people over to science, and now my smelting station will be done in 2. And you can mix and match. It's like, well, it's, you know, move them around. It's like, well, I kind of want to get one guy on food. However you want to do it. And you can have your people focus on doing one thing or another. Oh, I'm losing a lot of money. I got to put a lot of people working on dust, etc. And this gives you a good breakdown of how much of these materials you're creating and why you're doing so. Again, you can hover over it. It tells you how much food you're getting from city tiles, how much you're getting from city improvements, etc. So you can move your people around to quickly, again, either research something or, again, let's say, oh, we really want to get this mine built quickly. I would have everybody building or working under city production. That should make sense for you. You also have, let's go over the rest of the city screen just to kind of clear this off. You also have city happiness. This is based on a lot of different factors, as you can see. Things like how many towns you have hurts it, any kind of benefit you have. Like a lot of people like that I have a sewer system. Also, I have an empire plan, which we'll go over, which is making people happier, things like that. People are more productive when they're happier. So as you can see, because my people are happy, I'm getting plus 15% food production and 15% work production, industrial potential, whatever you want to call it. If people get unhappy, you actually lose production, which is obviously something you want to try to avoid. I don't know if there's any kind of like riots or anything that can start. My happiness has never gotten that low, but you definitely want to keep your people happy for efficiency reasons. Here we can see our populations. We have a 6+0 from pacified villages. I'll go over pacified villages in a little bit, but you can get additional population by pacifying basically these small villages. Kind of think of them sort of like barbarians from Civilization. This tells you how much longer you have until your city is going to grow in population, in this case 6 turns. And again, if I wanted to focus on that and speed that up, I can move people over, and now you can see it's 4 turns. Let's see, we also have things that shows you how much gold your city is costing you due to improvements and whatnot. Let's see, we can also, I guess this is, yeah, this is all the improvements it has, I believe. Actually, I haven't looked at that screen before. There's a lot of screens here. Now, here, this is another screen I don't quite understand entirely. Let's briefly talk about minor factions. These are NPCs that have very, very small holdings, and they don't expand or anything like that. They have their own city, their own faction, and sometimes they do have multiple locations, but they act as one faction. But again, you can't really trade with them, I don't believe. No, you don't really trade with them. They might try to take your city out, but they don't really work like the rest of the city, right? They don't function at a higher level. So you can pacify these minor factions by either trading with them, like doing a quest. This game does have quests. Things like go and kill these creatures and find this item that we lost, or build this, or implement this military plan, things like that, and that will pacify them. You can also do it by combat, which is how I did it in this case, because that's why their ruins are kind of smoldering there. Now, the problem with attacking them, it's a little bit faster sometimes, especially if the quest they want is a little bit unrealistic, given your current situation. But when you destroy it, you have to rebuild it. So if you'll notice in our list here, we have a Sisters of Mercy expansion option. I can pick that here to basically rebuild what I broke. But we're going to go ahead and speed it up because we feel bad that we've beat them up and just left their city in ruins. Actually, it's over 100 turns now. I beat them a long time ago and just haven't gotten back to taking a look at it. But that's how the minor factions work. Once you have assimilated them, one, for the city in that region, you'll get one more population. I think this one actually has 2. I think. Yeah, there's 2 of these villages in this region, so I'm actually getting an extra 2 people from pacified villages, which is really nice, especially early on. It's really nice when you're trying to get your city to grow. Obviously, I'm not getting that population increase right now because I kind of destroyed the city and haven't rebuilt it. Here you can see the resources that this city has access to in this region. The ones that are grayed out means I haven't built anything like an extractor or whatnot to actually get the resource yet. Gold means that you have. Now, one thing I don't quite understand about this system is, for example, I'll keep getting a message every few turns, like every 10 turns, that says that my gold extractor has run out. Do I want to renew the boost from gold? I don't know what it costs to do that, but you get benefits from reboosting it like every 10 turns. Like it increases happiness, production, things of that nature. So generally, I like to redo those. It's not like Civilization where you built a mine over diamonds or whatever, and boom, you're good to go. Now, some resources, yes, that is the case. But in here, it seems things like the Moonleaf, for example, which increases its 50% science on cities and plus 10 happiness, I have to pay every 10 to redo it. Again, that I'm not 100% clear on how that works, but it generally tells me, so I just click OK, and it works, and that makes me happy. So, let's see, anything else here? Let's see, this is money this city is getting for trade routes, science it's getting as well. You can also see the trade route effects for this particular city. I'm trying not to dig into too much. I want to give you more of an overview, but even that's gonna be a little timely. Let's go quickly over the screens as well. We have the Empire screen. We have the Empire plan. Let's talk about that very quickly. The Empire plan is basically how the direction you want to push your empire, but it doesn't have an effect maybe quite as you would think from the description that I've given. In a nutshell, the way this works is every city generates influence points based on a whole lot of different things. Your improvements, how you have your people in the city directed, etc. Well, you have 4 different areas that you can build on: military, economy, empire expansion, and science. Every X number of turns, and I forget what it is, you get an option to change your empire plan. The empire plan has a flat cost each time. So let's just start from the beginning here with 0 influence points, or influence points is what they're called. It's basically like culture from Civilization. And let's look at science and history. Let's say I really want to get caught up on my science. Well, I can drag this over, and for 80 influence, I get plus 20% on cities. It's like, well, that's cool, but I also want to get 33% building reduction cost as well. So I increase this up, and you'll notice it didn't go to 160, it went to 240. Each rung significantly increases the cost. So you see from here, from 240 to 600, and then from 600 to 1600. So getting these higher tiers is very, very expensive. Now, if you generate a lot of influence points, you can actually get quite a lot of benefits. But you have to kind of decide, is that what I want to do? Is that how I want to spend my influence points? Influence points, again, can also be spent doing trades with other civilizations. And we'll go into the trade menu in a little bit. So, you kind of had to decide how you want to spend them. If you're a civilization that doesn't really generate much, some of the benefits are definitely nice. For example, if you're a civilization that wants to expand a lot, this one is big. Plus 25 happiness on cities. Because if you don't, it makes a lot of unhappy civilizations, which means their production is drastically lowered, which kind of defeats the purpose of expanding in the first place. So this is really nice for when you're still trying to get upgrades for your city that make people happier. It kind of as a flat bonus, which it makes sense because this is under Empire and Expansions. So that is the Empire plan set up, and again, it tells you each time it's available. But yeah, this is just a general overview on your empire. This gives you a big breakdown of every benefit and negative that you have, any current trade routes that you have going. This talks about your current race, influence points, empire approval, a lot of other things like that. City list, again, pretty much what you'd expect. Another thing I really like from the city list is if I click, oops, if I misclick, it takes me back. But if I click here, I can actually readjust all the people. So once you start getting a lot of cities, and especially if they're spread out, it can be kind of a pain, because sometimes there's a big science thing that you need. Like, you know, war's coming, you've got to get production started, or you've got to get these things researched fast. So you can quickly go to each city and drag and drop people from one section to the other very quickly. I really like that. And like I said, it gives you a good overview of what's going on in all of your cities. This is the research screen. This is what you spend science points for. The science is split up into tiers. So you have 1, 2, 3, up to 6. And to get to a new tier, you have to basically discover X number of sciences in a tier. So, for example, let's say I'm in tier 1. I might have to get 6 technologies, and then I can unlock tier 2. Getting up to new scientific tiers does other things as well. For example, in the Empire plan that we just talked about, some of those rungs are not available unless you at least at like tier 2 in the science. Pretty sure it's based on that, because I've noticed more and more things open up as my research goes up, and I presume that they were tied together because it made sense. And it goes so forth and so on. So at tier 2, I might have to have 7 sciences to get tier 3. And you can even see here, these little dots, these little, I was going to use the other word for them, but these little pegs indicate how far along I am into unlocking tier 4. It looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it looks like I need to get 3 more, and then I'll unlock this new tier. And this also shows you in blue what you've already researched. The gold spinning is what I'm currently researching. And then these kind of green ones are the ones that I need. And it is, again, it's broken up. Military is the top right, science and industry in the right-hand side, etc. You can hover over them. It tells you everything. It gives you a brief kind of flavor text description so you understand what it is. It tells you what the effects are and, you know, what new resources you can make, things of that nature. One thing I do not like is that new research is based on how many things you've already researched. So, for example, let's say I finish this up and I'm like, you know what? Now I want to go back and research, you know, this low-level research. Its cost still increases because you've researched, you know, 20 different items or whatever. If you'd have researched it first, it would have took a lot less research points. I don't like that. I feel that it's, one, very, very artificial. It doesn't make any sense at all that I've got all these advanced technologies, but yet this one thing that was very simplistic now is a lot harder to research just because I know a lot of other stuff. It's completely counterintuitive to how it would really work. And I understand that there's balances and trade-offs that have to be made in regard to game balance and things like that. And I'm sure there's a reason why they do that. But that's one of my big hang-ups. I really dislike highly that older technologies are going to be more expensive just because you just decided to pick them up later. I really do not like that at all. But anyway, let's move on to the quest journal. Now, every faction has their own faction quest, which is pretty interesting. I don't think I've ever played a 4X game that has these like overarching quests. I think I have played one other one that had some mini quests, but this one is pretty interesting. It's got like an overarching like race quest where you're discovering some things that are going on with the race that you've picked, which is pretty nice. You also get side quests. Mostly, I think the only time I've really gotten side quests was from the minor factions, the villages or whatever they're called, where they say, hey, you do this for me and we'll team up with you. But yeah, that's always nice. Heroes, you can support heroes or recruit heroes into your ranks. I don't know. One thing I'm not sure of, and I think it'd be nice if this was possible, was if your normal units can become heroes. I don't think they can. I think the only way to get heroes is to maybe either win them in battle or actually go to the marketplace and hire them, which we'll go over that in a second. But other than that, I've only got the one hero. We can inspect him and very quickly, and we'll go into this in more detail later. You can see the gear that he's wearing. He also has a skill tree that as he gains levels, you can focus on, you know, there's a class tree, a common tree that all heroes have access to, and then your faction-specific stuff there as well. You see all his stats. He's got a bunch of different talents, things of that nature, as XP, health, all of that is there for you to see on your hero. And your hero cannot die. That seems a little broken. If they get beaten in battle, they always will return, I believe, even if you lose the fight. That seems a little bit overly good, but it's also funny you can sell your hero. I don't know how that works. He's his own person, darn it. I don't know why you could sell him. But anyway, you can also click here to buy more heroes, which we'll do that in a minute. But yeah, you definitely, generally it seems like want to have a hero in your army because they are quite powerful. Armies list. Now, this game, normally in other like Civ games, you make a unit, you send it off, maybe you group it up with others, but in this, but generally they were their own units. In this game, it's not quite that way. You have to group armies or group units into armies and then move them. You can't really move them as individual units. Now, you can have an army of one unit, which is a little bit weird. But yeah, you have to kind of tie everything into an army, which, like I say, is a little bit strange. Not a big deal, but it's a bit odd. Now, one cool thing here that a lot of people I think will like is that you can do customization. So let's say I have this cool looking ancient here, but I want to make him better. So I'm going to select him, and I can give him a name, a different type of name. And here you see all the different armors and weapons and whatnots that you have access to. These are based on whatever your current technology is. So for example, I've got a tier 3 claws here. Wow, legendary. I think we have to drag and drop them. How does this work? Forget, it's been a while. No, don't leave it yet. Oh, we double click it. So you can actually upgrade their gear by researching the appropriate things in the science tree. Now, of course, by getting them these better items, we're actually giving them some really nice armor, tier 3 armor, and a shield too. I don't really know. Oh, he's got a talisman. This is cool too. I like the idea of them having, especially because this is a fantasy, having like magical items and giving these magical items, giving them different bonuses. Like this one gives, extra movement or whatnot. And these, oh no, you can only have one at a time. All right. Now you can see here though, as I change that out, production cost changes. So if you want to get the really nice armor, you can see it's going to cost you more and more production. And then some things, in particular the higher tier armors, are going to cost you very special resources. Like I think that's basically adamantium, and this is some kind of gem. So you have to keep that in mind. Make sure you have access to those resources. Make sure you have them stocked up, especially if you're going to be making a lot of units. And also, keep in mind the production cost. So sometimes maybe you're like, you want a stripped down unit, you just kind of want a shock troop to get in the way, and then your heavily armored range units in the back. However you want to do it. I think that's really cool. I really like the idea of customizing your units. In other games, like, well, I can't think of any offhand, but where it's more of like customizing your spaceship, those I don't really like because you have to build the spaceship and, put where the walls and the hull are and the engines. And I totally get people loving that, but I like this as just a much more simplistic, helm. I want the best helm and I want the best armor, or, well, I'm willing to sacrifice the armor here or sacrifice the weapon here because this is a frontline troop, because I don't want the production value to be too much or what have you. I think it's awesome that you can upgrade your units like that. It's not just some arbitrary, oh, you've discovered gunpowder. Now just click upgrade and all your knights are now musketmen or whatever. I like that upgrades like that. I also like the idea of them graphically changing. Even though most of the units I've actually tried messing around with, the armor doesn't make a difference. I don't know if it's because of these dragon guys and it would be kind of weird for them to be wearing helmets. But you can see like his claw here is glowing a little bit, which is pretty neat. But yeah, I really, really like this. And again, you can save it and say, I'm going to make this, Draken 2.0. So we can say Drak 2.0. We can't have a point. We'll just call it Drak 2. And now, if we go out to our city, you can see we have Drak 2 that we can build, and it shows you, how long it would take. 8 turns. 8 turns for a highly upgraded unit's not a bad idea. Keeping in mind the other civilizations are going to be doing the same thing. Here is your diplomacy screen. Now you can see 3 civilizations have been wiped out. I promise it wasn't me. I don't have a very good armed force right now, which actually makes it pretty glad that they're not angry at me. There's really only 2 AIs left. When you hover over them, it'll tell you a little bit about them, their name. It says that they're mocking. Are they actually at war with me? I don't know. And these guys are dismissive. We're at peace. We're at war, I guess, with these guys. I didn't even know that. But yeah, basically there. Let me go back. There's 4 different layers here. You have an alliance, and then you have at peace, where you can trade with each other. Cold War. Now, I think Cold War is actually an interesting idea here, because I don't think I've seen this in another 4X game. Basically, what Cold War means is that you can attack other units, and they can attack you in neutral areas without triggering a full-scale war. So if you're trying to take a neutral area and you find them trying to sneak in, you can kill their settlers and kill their other units, and this might make them angry, but it's not going to trigger an all-out war. I think that's actually a really cool idea. I'm sure the other games have done it. 4X games in particular have done it. I've never seen it, but I think that's really neat. Then you have War, which is apparently he's mad at me right now. But yeah, you can also click on them, like this guy here, and you can't do a lot of this stuff initially. You have to research different options. You also have to be at peace with them to be able to trade like resources, for example. Now down here, let's say that I wanted to trade him advanced armor. Like, yeah, I trust you. You're not going to use this stuff against me, right? You'll see this bar is going to start moving to the right, and when I hover over it, it also moves to the right a bit. That shows how likely he is to agree to the terms. So if I wanted military science in exchange, yeah, he's not really crazy about that. None of these he's really willing to part with, other than alchemical labor, armor, which now he's a little bit on the negative side. So if I go here, I'm like, all right, you know what? Let's sweeten the pot a little bit. Let's throw in some gold, because we've got lots of money. And let's drop this down to 1,000. Nope, still not. How about 1,000? I did 100. So now you can see, oh, okay, he'll accept these terms. Now I have to make an offer. This is the total influence cost of the offer. I don't really know if I agree with influence being used to do trading. I think that's very weird. Like normally with other games, if you want to trade with them, you trade with them. It's odd that it costs influence or culture, or however you want to look at it. I can kind of see why that would do that, and I guess it gives you a reason to have some culture, but or influence, whatever. But yeah, it's a little weird. Also, as far as I can tell, I'll go ahead and make him the offer, and he did accept it. But you can also do other like more diplomatic things, like Cold War. We can go back to Cold War. Which, this is kind of funny. A declaration of war costs influence. Why would that cost influence? Unless, let's see, a decision is taken to move from peace to war. Prayers would be appropriate. Okay, I thought, well, maybe this meant asking them to go to war with someone for us, but it means declaring war. That seems kind of silly. Why would I need influence to declare war on someone? We can also do things like map exchange. We can also do vision and map exchange. We can close borders. I've also got some trades going with him now, where we're trading dust and science back and forth, which increases both of our dust and science, which is pretty nice. We can send compliments to him. We can send a warning, things like that. So yeah, that's the trading. The very last thing is the marketplace. And again, a lot of these marketplace things you have to trade. In fact, you have to research the marketplace to get in here at all. But in here, you can trade for various things. There's units, mercenaries that you can hire, heroes that you can hire. As you can see, heroes are pretty expensive. Some of these going up to around 1,800. Some of them, they have different stats, of course, different abilities. And some are exclusive, like they show exclusive to your empire for a short amount of time. So especially if you're playing multiplayer and you see a really good hero, you might want to grab it just so another player doesn't get it and use it against you. Stockpiles, I think this is something I haven't gotten to yet. But luxuries, I can just, you know, either purchase or sell various items, luxuries, or strategic resources. And over here, we can see my various resources. And I can, again, just sell them on the market to make some money. Now, if you keep selling or you keep buying, I think the price does change. So if I just keep selling this over and over, eventually the price will drop. Conversely, if I keep buying certain resources, the price will go up. Normal market stuff going on, which makes sense. So that's actually kind of interesting. It also does keep track of your past exchange or past trades, if you will, which is pretty neat. It tells you the turn that it happened on. But yeah, so that is most of that. The only thing left that I can really think of, and again, I apologize, there are going to be things that I do miss because there's quite a lot of stuff going on in this game, is the combat. Now I'm going to see if I can get into a fight. Where is my general? Actually, where's my hero? Oh, your heroes, one interesting aspect of your heroes, you can assign them to either an army or you can assign them to a city. Let's go ahead and assign it to this army. I don't know if he warps over there automatically or not. Let's go to this army. It looks like he does not. So I'm probably not going to get to show you the combat, which is kind of... let's see if we can't get into some trouble, actually. Because I'd like to show you that for sure. In fact, worst case, I might even wait. Or like try to find something to fight. Because the combat is not like... Actually, it's a new army. I think I accidentally put that general in the wrong army. That's okay. So let's see if we can get into a fight. Overall, though, let's talk about my overall thoughts on this game. I really like this game quite a lot, actually. There's a lot of depth. I mean, it's a little too early to say if there's a lot of depth or not. We're just going to kind of fly through our turns here to see if I can just find a fight so you can get an idea of how it works. But I really like this game a lot. I really like it's taken like a twist on something. We're just going to dismiss all that. It's taken an interesting twist on a lot of the standard stuff from other 4X games, and it really seems to like bring some interesting new things to the table. For example, let's go ahead. We're going to pick something because that's what'll keep bugging me about not having anything in the queue there. But some interesting things like the regions. Like I say, at first I wasn't really crazy about how they did regions, but now I'm kind of liking it, not having to send workers out. Oh, here's the other thing. It's actually good timing. There's winter and summer. Let's go ahead and just grab something at random there. Winter and summer. Winter sucks. You move a lot slower. Your cities produce much less. A lot of various upgrades. Oh, looks like you can auto dispart or whatever. But a lot of cities or a lot of improvements don't work in winter. Things like, it looks like the river freezes over too. Yeah, looks like the river's frozen over. That's cool. But yeah, some upgrades that say use the river to increase food stop working. Because, well, they're frozen over. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a fight. I wonder if I can actually attack a friendly city here. But yeah, so far I've just really enjoyed this so far. It's changed. Okay. I thought it actually dropped. I was like, geez, why did it lose people? I know it's winter, but looks like there's something up here that I know something about. And I like their take on like the barbarians. And in this case, you know, they're not just a huge annoyance. They can actually be very, very useful to you. And I know Civilization had like the city-state thing, and this is similar to that. Wow. This has been a bad time for winter. Then I want to go try to fight something. But yeah, it's a interesting variation on that. I like the idea of also either just flat out attacking them and bringing them into the fold, or doing quests for them, or doing a quest for them, usually just one, and, you know, making them happy. So that's pretty cool. So I'm actually going to try to find a fight because I do think that the combat is something that's important to show. So let me do that, and I'll see you guys in just a second. Okay, while I was actually going to them to fight, they actually came to me to fight. So yeah, it looks like they'll probably win pretty handily here, I imagine. But I just wanted to kind of show you how this works. So look like they're actually attacking the city. Now, I haven't attacked the city, so I don't know how sieges work, and I know in a lot of games that can be pretty rough. So basically, when you get started with a fight, it zooms in to the tile, and it kind of spreads everything out. And it becomes more of a Heroes of Might and Magic type battle. So you have your deployment, And you can decide, you know, where you want your troops to be deployed. Now they're going to do the same thing too, so they might not be exactly where you think they're going to be. Again, this is probably going to be a total wipe. Now see, there are also reinforcements. I don't quite know how that works, but let's see. You are ranged. I don't know how much of ranged attack you have though, so we're going to move you on up. And I kind of wanted to show you this, you know, roughly, so you get a rough idea of how this works. And you can auto-resolve these battles if you're the type who doesn't want to deal with it. You can auto-resolve these types of fights. So we're gonna say, let's see, we can also, we'll say ready. I haven't done a lot of combat. I did with some of these minor guys, but one thing I don't quite understand is you don't seem to have direct control over your units. So for example, if I wanted these guys now that the battle started to fall back, they don't seem to be able to do that. I don't know why, but they're not able to do that. So I haven't been able to figure out, and again, I haven't done a whole lot of combat, but I'm having trouble figuring out exactly how it works. Now here's your overall strategy. It says if command cannot be executed, the unit will go on the offense. If its command cannot be executed, go on the defense. Or if the unit will hold position and attack only if an enemy is within range. So I don't, and it's, again, they have all these spells that you can use, like slow down and whatnot. I don't think you can actually pick what they cast, as far as I can tell. Again, it's very hard to discern how this works. And from reading the forums, other people were a little confused how this works. So yeah, okay, we're going to get slaughtered regardless. So let's just say launch our attack. It's like they're moving up. So you can see they get various benefits and negatives. I guess it's the damage that they did. You can see their health points over the unit. Also, the initiative order is up here. You can see they got the huge initiative on us. Oh, and I guess the tower means defenders? I'm not sure. Or maybe that's a default defense? I'm not sure. Since we're on the defense, I'm not sure. Don't know. Oh, I guess these are our reinforcements that are coming in. It makes it a little confusing because we're both the same race. Otherwise, it'd be easier to tell like who is who. It's like a bunch of dinosaurs fighting, or whales. Looks like that's their hero. Obviously, it wouldn't hurt to take them out soon. Okay, he's ranged as well. It's like our guys are finally going to attack. They did very little damage. These guys are probably highly upgraded. We probably won't even finish out this battle. But, yeah, see, he's got the green arrow to them, so it gives like a rough idea of what they're trying to do. Like, I want them to focus on this guys. I guess, sure, let's try that. One thing I definitely have never liked in Civ is the combat. I've always felt like combat in fighting wars in Civ has just been a really boring slog for the most part. So this definitely makes it more interesting. I like this style of being able to resolve the fight. I like the more strategy aspect, and instead of just throwing walls of units at the enemy. But like I said, some of it I don't understand yet, so I haven't really been able to really get a good handle on if I like it or not. Looks like they wiped out those guys. But yeah, it's pretty much like this over and over. And again, I guess at some point you can cast a spell. Like they have a slowdown spell, but I have no idea how to actually use it. I don't know if the AI has to figure it out or what. But I don't know if we can like escape out of this. Like at this point, like I just like kind of like to auto resolve it. One other thing, well, this is what I wanted to show you anyway. So, the last thing I wanted to show you was the world map. You can zoom way out to kind of get a overview of the world and what you can see of it anyway. Obviously, I haven't really explored up here a whole lot, so I don't really see a lot of the map. And probably these parts I only know because I made a map trade agreement with somebody who is now deceased, probably killed by these jerks. But yeah, as you zoom in, it shows a little bit more details. Like you can see drawings of the trees, You can see various icons for different resources, things like that, watchtower locations, etc. But yeah, I think that's really all I had to show. Again, I'm sure there's a lot more to it, but overall, I really like this game. I think it's really good. It's definitely one of those games I can see going to, that when I've got that 4X itch, it's not just an assumption that, oh, well, I'll just open up Civilization or I'll open up Earth Beyond Earth. Because honestly, with Beyond Earth, I kind of got bored with it after a couple hours because I felt like I ran out of stuff to do. In this game, I haven't felt that way yet, and I'm about 8 or 9 hours in to just this map. Obviously, there's multiple races to try, there's multiple land masses, difficulties, strategies, all of that to try out. So I think if you are into 4X games at all, you should definitely look at this game, Endless Legend. It was in early access, I think, when I first got the key. I've had it for a while. I haven't had a chance to do this video. Now it is full released. They also have like higher tier purchase. You can like the Emperor edition or something like that, where you get more kind of nice little things. But I think, again, you can get in here for $34.99. If you're the type of person who likes 4X games, I think you're going to get a lot of hours out of this. Because like I said, I've quite enjoyed it so far. Graphically, it looks great. There's tons of resources to gather, tons of sciences to get. It's simplistic enough that if you're not into 4X games or if you haven't played a lot of them before, you can pick it up pretty easy, but it does seem to have enough complexity so that anybody but like the most hardcore Civ or 4X people, I think there's still a lot of enjoyment to be had out of this game. And it does support multiplayer. I've never really been into the whole 4X multiplayer thing, but I know there's a significant portion of folks out there who do like it, so you might want to check it out for that reason as well. But yeah, absolutely check out Endless Legend. Again, I really enjoyed it. It's $34.99. It's available on Mac or Windows on Steam. Thank you guys for watching. If you'd like to see more videos like this covering games that you might not have seen before, make sure to subscribe, leave comments in the description below the video. Let me know what you think of this game or this video. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you next time.
Step back though. We are getting this worked up about a mobile game. I mean,
I do hate you though. I want to be 100% clear with a moment of seriousness. I hate your guts.